remember to actually cut my recording here. Makes it easier to upload. Right, it should be the last save, shouldn't it? Yeah, because I think I did a bit of this off stream just the other week, just to kind of clean this up. Because Leon A and Leon B, 100%. I really don't think like 100% with the S plus stipulation and kill all. Why can't? Why is this not working? There we go. Cool. I don't think they'll be that difficult. Well, I mean, I have a route down for the A scenario, so... Right, okay, yeah, we're doing this, and then the boss fight. I am drawing a blank on where the second safe is in scenario B, though. Are they? Yeah, they're where they need to be. I can't remember this off the top of my head. Pawn, rook, knight. Queen, bishop, king. There we go. Intentionally giving you the mix there, keeping the things the same. What does this say, actually?
Okay.
Can't remember.
There,
Oh, okay, that one's actually quite a bit easier than scenario A. Probably should have got the rocket launcher for this, but whatever. Right, so what time are we on here? So, Leon B. Yeah, it's 2 hours for an S rank. So, I've fucked around a lot on this run, so there's definitely time to spare. But the lab on B scenario is very, very quick. Because you get the, what's it called? You get the signal modulator, like, right at the start, so... Oh.
Jesus Christ!
I'm gonna get him to, come and play. Like that. Could even start this actually after this run. I'd say the big difference is just Mr. X in. Ow.
Now I got you.
Now, if this doesn't kill him... Music stopped, so... Yeah, there we go. Oh, don't forget around.
Let's hope.
So I think you get one extra box of Magnum rounds on B scenario. You also have way less zombies to kill too, so I might not need to mix as much shotgun ammo as you do on the A scenario. Yeah. So the only thing I'm down here is the next side pack.
Cable car will take us down to Nest. My wristband's our ticket to ride.
Nice. Where'd you get that?
Borrowed it. Anyway, we're almost there.
Now, seeing as we've got a fair few liquors to deal with in the lab, we'll grab this. Just eyeballing how much shotgun ammo is in there already means I don't think I have to mix shotgun ammo in the police station as much as you would in Leon A. I think there was over 40 shotgun rounds in there, and then I haven't mixed any gunpowder yet on this save.
This may be a one-way ride, so be prepared.
One hour 36. With a pretty hefty amount of backtracking.
For your safety, stand clear until the doors are fully open. For your safety,
And I was holding L1 to run then, so I've been playing a lot of Saints Row. Dead Space 2 is also L1 to run. Well, L2, well, it depends on what setup you have, but it's one of the shoulder buttons. I prefer L1.
our menu is designed for your nutritional needs.
How are you even still alive?
Research.
That's a well-made TV. Them CRTs, man. Built like tanks. Just take rocket launcher hits. There we go. Okay, I do. Yeah, I'm gonna need to. I'm gonna need to just double check where that side pack is. Not side pack. Sorry. The extra portable safe. Because if I remember rightly, I didn't leave anything red in the police station, so it's weird that I've not got it.
Dr. Lee, your presence is urgently
Wonder where the
requested by
G-virus
Chief
is.
Carter.
You know what? We'll just because I am down a few items here. So, well, down 2 item slots. So, I'll just use the rocket launcher. I don't really need anything else. It's always annoying. You got to come back and kill this guy. Although, no, I can... No, you don't. You can do that straight away here, can't you? You can do that straight away on the B scenario. That's good. That saves, like, I think I timed that on the Leon A run I did. I think it takes about 2 minutes, or is it like 2 minutes? Like, over 2, well, it's over 2 minutes, put it that way. It takes over 2 minutes to go back and kill that guy on a regular run.
Virus is in the west area.
So I can do that. And then I can go back and kill him now. and get my side pack, which you would usually skip on Leon A. I say skip, it's so late in the game, it doesn't really matter. There we go. Cool. Yeah, so that might add a bit of time, I suppose. Just because you're having to go back to the item boxes so often. I should have dropped them off, really. $20.48 and $58.31 on these scenarios. This movement speed just feels like a snail's pace coming off of Doom. It's like, come on, Leon, fucking move. Jesus Christ. There are important things to be done. Yeah, I'm thinking, just Magnum rounds on B scenario. And a lot of them, too. I'll keep that equipped. And 58.31, I believe, was the other one. Yep.
Dispensing solution now.
Right, I'm going to keep that flash grenade because I have a horrible track record of actually remembering about the ivy that's in that room on the way out. I always forget, he fucking grabs me. This is blue, red, green, red, blue, green, blue, red, green.
Engaged. Adjust amount of solution to match cartridge capacity.
Red, green, red, blue. Oh no, I missed one. There's a weird ad playing on the page that I was looking at for the puzzles, and it just, out of the corner of your eye, it just looks like Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. It's just like randomly beating somebody up in the street. I don't know what the advert's for. Oops. It's very strange. I forgot, like, how badly you fuck this up, like, if you don't get it right first time. Yeah, because then that's still too much, isn't it? Yeah. So that will leave me with what I need left in that one, won't it? Oops. Yeah. Oh, no, it doesn't. Oh, what's up, VHS? Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm being very lazy tonight. Oh, fuck. I can't believe I hit the wrong fucking switch on this. Like you really do fuck this up if you just hit one wrong thing. I wish that worked. I genuinely do. Right, let me put that one there. The hell was that? Yeah, and then if I do that one. Yeah, and then that does not fill up that one. Whoops. That won't fill up that one. There we go, and now it just needs 2 more. Nope. How many gauges is that? I did VHS, yeah, but I hit the wrong button, and as far as I know, like, once you start this puzzle, like, there's no way to actually reset it. So it's one of those puzzles where, like, if you fuck it up, like, you really fuck it up, like, because there's no quick way to, like, fix it. So what's that left with? So I basically need to end on that one full. How many's in that one? 6? Yeah, there's 6 gauges. And I need 4, 8... Yeah, 8, 10... I need 12. I could if I'd have saved, but I haven't saved. So there's the problem there. And how many gauges are in that one? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6... Hang on. If I fill up this one twice, and then keep that how it is, and then drain that in there, and then fill up that one again. If I'm looking at those gauges, that's enough. There we go. If those gauges were numbered, that would be much easier to see. It really would. Oh man, I've got no Bombay mix tonight. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll wrap this up, and then I'll watch that NG video because I think it's like half an hour long. Like it's not a short video, to be fair. So, right, Ivies. No, thank you. Oh, that does kill them. Okay. I love that there's no like friendly fire on the rocket launcher in this game. It's awesome. If a tad unrealistic, but cool. God, I think you might genuinely have too much ammo on this run as Leon. Like, for Leon B, I mean, because this is fucking nuts. That shotgun ammo there, isn't it? Yeah. Ugh. There we go. What's it, isn't it? Workout videos made you look really short. Oh, do they? Okay. I've not really like I will not really watch them like as a video. I only like I had the feed on when I did the commentary for them. So I don't know. I mean, it's better that though, isn't it? Like better that than the other way. It's better to like be tall and look short than look tall and then when people see you they're like, ah. Yeah, I'd say it's better to be that way. Okay, it's gunpowder A behind me, which I really don't need. Well, there's a lot I don't need, thinking about it. You get way too much fucking ammo as Leon, like, seriously. Especially on B scenario. You might be, I think you can probably skip the hiding places in the police station. I really don't think you'll need those at all. You won't need that extra flamethrower fuel. Because I'm not too far off from, like, taking stock of everything that you get in the game so far. You too could have a UF badge. For the low price, $500. I'm joking, obviously. Right, get rid. We'll keep that, because I always forget about the fucking... actually, we'll grab a knife. We'll grab 2 knives, actually. I always forget about the bloody Ivy. Yeah, like... Man, you get so much ammo. I'm not going to bother I'm not going to bother backtracking for that gunpowder. I'll just remember. Like, you just don't... You don't need it anyway, so... It doesn't matter. Yeah, say I don't know. I don't really know how it looked. It's funny. My roommate's back tonight though. Whoa! I just went right through him, didn't it? Yeah, he's not... Yeah, there we go. What the fuck? That had like an extra sharp point on it, that rocket. Yeah, so I haven't got like quite as much space to work with this week for filming, which is a bit annoying. But we'll make it work. We'll make it work. It's fine. Tell you what, like really... like frustrating, even though I shouldn't be surprised. But the strain like on my wrist, just doing like push-ups is I'm not used to that. Sit down, buddy. There we go. I'll try and be a wise guy with me. Who's... There we go. Don't forget about this guy. Oh, do you not get one on B scenario? Or is he in this room? Huh, do you not... Is he just not there? You know, I think that might just be the collision is just that good that I think that can travel like through the gap in their arm. That's fucking amazing. Tell her to get out. Oh man. I mean, I don't know if she'll actually be back. She said she was going to be back last week and the week before. I just realized this. There's more ammo in the pathway on the left that I could get. You just don't need it. This is nuts. All right, we'll get to the save point and then we'll watch that NG video. We'll see how much of it I disagree with. Probably a lot. So much time. I have mentioned it. I have said like there's been a request for you to play the sequel. The only thing is though is like I won't bullshit her. Like I've said, yeah, like the sequel is like you'll probably find it a bit scarier, because as soon as you know who turns up, I think things are gonna go south. You know, as soon as Mr. X is like, yo, I think things might go a bit pear-shaped when that happens. Because I'm just thinking of in the like situation where you first encounter him, if you're not someone who just is kind of, you know, just knows how to move in that and like intuitively knows how to move, I think like you'll get to him and it'll be like, oh shit, what do I do? And if you spend that long thinking that, you're dead. Like he'll hit you. So I was thinking about that, but the thing with assisted, I really hate the fact that it like locks your aim, and in some ways I feel like that actually makes aiming harder. Because like when you're trying to track something, when it like keeps trying to stick to it, it sticks to other enemies as well. Like I hate that assisted aim. I find it makes it more awkward to aim. Funnily enough, I think it actually is easier to just aim yourself. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've not looked. I only played through on assisted ones. So, okay, here we are. This is the last lot of shit, so. Right, so there's way less zombies to kill on B scenario. And look at all this gunpowder. How many? Yeah, So I could mix. Hang on, let me save. Let me save. There we go. There we are. Yeah, I will do actually, because that's a good point. Yeah, I think because normal on this game is quite tough. Like it's not, you know, it's not a pushover for someone who's like not familiar. So what's the shotgun ammo situation? Because I feel like there's way more. Yeah, fuck. You definitely do not need to mix shotgun ammo on B scenario. Holy shit. That's insane. Alright. What if we do... That's... Nah, you see, the thing is, that's all the high-grade gunpowder in the game. So I could have 17 Magnum rounds. Mixing handgun ammo is a complete waste of time because you get this, you get the large caliber handgun ammo. Okay, is it me or is B scenario like S plus kill all on the surface seem way easier? What was Leon? Like, look at it, man. Look at all the shit he gets. Because this is just free ammo. And there was that gunpowder I left behind. So I could use that. Oops. No, no, I don't want that. Kind of wish I had a mouse for the item box. It'd be so much easier. Matilda. Lightning Hawk. And flamethrower. There we go. And what's the flamethrower fuel? Yeah. 700. Jesus Christ. That's just bananas. That's a crazy amount of ammo. Normal on the game feels like the fairest of the three difficulties. Assisted can be too easy to someone who knows what they're doing. Oh, definitely. Hardcore can definitely be bullshit at sometimes, yeah. I think it's not necessarily they take too much damage. The thing with hardcore is the stun inconsistency. Like the fact sometimes you can shoot a zombie like 5 fucking times in the head and it doesn't stun them, and then they just lunge right through all your bullets and fucking hit you. Like, that is bullshit. Man. You know, I gotta say, like, is it even worth doing? On A scenario, like, you do actually have to manage your things pretty well. On B scenario, like, you're just gonna be able to kill everything, like, no problem. I don't know. I've half a mind not to bother now. Like, I suppose, yeah, you get less knives, but that's not a problem. You get less knives, but you get way more of everything else. Like, look at that. 37 fucking Magnum rounds. Like, that is just disgusting. Boom. 40 Magnum rounds. That's crazy. That's actually unfair. It would be. It's a shame this game doesn't have New Game Plus. It is. It really is. Like, that they could give you, like, you know, like a crazier stack of enemies, to look at that. Okay, let's watch this NG video. Filthy reaction video, scrub. What can you do? All right. I'll keep the stream up for this so I can see. Well, I'll keep OBS up so you guys can see, so I can see your chat. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, well remembered. I'll queue up this video in the meantime. Just real quick, guys. You should have desktop audio should be on. Just let me know how loud this video is. I'm just clicking on a random Doom video.
And Daytooks will probably not won't work because of my FPS. I have fucking 120 FPS.
It's only peaking about halfway up, so it tends to be very, very quiet. Oh, does it? Alright, I'll turn it up just a wee bit more. Just because, most of the time, like, whenever I watch a video, it's like, oh man, this is really quiet. And to me, it's like, it's perfectly fine. Alright, new game. Yeah, we are. Oh, damn it, it said it there, didn't it? Exactly, man. My eyes are shot, so I gotta look after these ears. Gotta look after me tabs. Right. Yeah, it said something there about assisted difficult, like assisted aim, so I don't know if you can turn it off. Yeah, this NG video is pretty long. That's why I'm kind of starting it now. Here we are. Options. Like, if you're not careful on this bit, like, you're... Okay, so that just says aim assist. But does that mean, like... Because I'm guessing even, like, by default, you have, like, a little bit of aim assist. Alright, let's find out then. Let's see if it snaps to the guy's head. Like, for example, if you started this game on hardcore, like, you could so easily just get killed right here.
You all right?
Like, without knowing what to do.
Don't move. I'll be back.
Yeah, let's see. Let's have a butcher, shall we? Look at all those cans of pop. Hello.
Freeze! I'll shoot.
Okay, that's not snapping to him, so I'm guessing that is it. Oops. We'll turn it back on. Because yeah, sometimes like this guy just fucking tanks like all your bullets. Yeah, so you see how it snaps to them, look? Like, and it snaps to the head, but then when you move, it kind of goes away. Like, it's just personal preference. Like, I really don't like that. And when you're moving across more than one enemy, like, it will snap to an enemy that you might not want. Like, I much prefer to just actually aim it. Sit down.
This can't be.
There was your nose. Okay. Alright. Oh, aim assist. Whoops. Aim assist. Whoops. Oh, no. I couldn't resist. Alright. She might do. Yeah, I mean, we could try it, I suppose. It might make... I mean, then again, you got to think of it through, like, like, regular player eyes. Like, to be fair, like, that's just because of me. That I've played a lot of games, so... Alright, guys, let's watch this video, shall we? Okay, so if it does need turning up, just let me know. So, what's up, Miss Dalton? Oh, don't. Oh, is it that bad? That doesn't fill me with confidence. Okay, I'm not gonna look at any of the comments. All right, so yeah, let's have a look.
Oh, I made it.
Oh, hang on. Why am I keeping them on? Let me grab my normal headphones. Oh, what's up, Susa? I've seen it around, haven't clicked on it. I mean, to be honest, like, I just thought it'd be interesting to do this. Like, normally I wouldn't watch this kind of thing. Man, he's so good. Okay, so he's starting off with NG3. Interesting.
This game, man. Oh, come on! Ninja Gaiden. It's tough. The IP was modernized by Tomonobu Itagaki, who... well, that's a read and a half, but he does like Pikmin. So Ninja Gaiden's awesome, and I hope the games won't mind taking what they dish out. Thumb damage, mostly. If you've heard about the Gaiden, you've heard a couple of things. It's comically violent, it's really hard, and the owners haven't been able to settle on definitive versions of their games. I wanted Ninja Gaiden at its best, so with some recommendations and forum trawling, I'm doing
I just thought, has this got subtitles? It just make it a bit easier. Yeah.
Black, Vanilla 2, and Razor's Edge. This will not be debated, Sigma games will not be considered, so go hump a stump, you bloodless chumps! Calling Ninja Gaiden hard isn't saying much. Enemies bully the player from all sides and often at range, demand an understanding and ready application of your options. Non-combat segments require a kind of precision that the game isn't mechanically suited to, I'd argue. Adversity is created in the varied forms and contexts of the challenge is thrown at the player, in the way that challenge is prescribed to the player. But Ninja Gaiden's strongest feature is its combat, the least prescriptive challenge the
I'll turn it down, okay. Did you really just say, like, the movement, like, isn't... Oh, man, okay, I mean, we all know that's not true. He's okay.
Player faces in a non-combat segments require understanding and ready application of your options. Non-combat
Oh, am I? Okay. Alright, let me turn down the video a bit more. Yeah, it's annoying that I can't hear this, like, as you guys hear it. Because otherwise I just get an echo on myself.
segments require a
How
kind
does
of
that
precision
sound?
that the game
Is that okay? Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's this bit. Non-combat segments require a kind of precision.
isn't mechanically suited to, I'd argue. Adversity
No, your platforming just sucks. Like,
is created in the varied forms and
Straight up.
contexts, so the challenge is thrown at the player, in the way that challenge is prescribed to the player. But Ninja Gaiden's strongest feature is its combat, the least prescriptive challenge the player faces. In a phrase, it doesn't celebrate its greatest strengths, and that makes every iteration hard to get through. Ninja Gaiden Black is a technical marvel. Most of the time, runs incredibly well.
that right there is a perfect example of what I mean about like these kinds of videos and like their criticism. Like that sentence like doesn't make any sense. Like it just it just doesn't make any sense. Like it just it's a complete. I don't know if I'll make it through this video. He literally starts a sentence by saying the game's combat is its best thing and what it's suited to, and then says, but the games never celebrate it, so they're hard to get through. Like, what?
Unbelievably good for its generation and has a lot of varied environments and challenges. I won't lie, I struggled through it. It was my first Ninja Gaiden game after all, but it's such a complete package kind of game. It gets respect for that alone, even if the story leaves a bit to be desired.
Someday you will come
There's
to
no
understand the pursuit
way
of power.
he's not evil.
The combat stands out immediately. Ryu controls a bit odd, nothing like Dante with his instant turnarounds and controlled jump arc. You roll and flip and block and run, rise and fall, blaze through enemies. I liken it to water, a control scheme with a lot of seamlessly integrated options and fluidity, but moments where the rapid that is Ryu is committed to its path. It takes some getting used to, but for the most part, it doesn't damage.
That also like directly contradicts what he said about the movement, like at the start of the video.
The experience. And it's not as overly complex as you might assume. Yeah, it's got combos,
No
but they're
combo
mostly
window.
dialed in, a series of buttons you hit in a pretty generous window, so even your mom can do an Azuna drop with a little practice. The visceral joy of combat is
The
the
amount of
crux
how
of
do I
everything,
Azuna drop
I think.
threads
That
would
essential
dispute that,
piece
I
of
would
Ninja
say.
Gaiden cannot be removed, or the game is
What's up,
nothing.
Ryan?
With that in mind, here's why Ninja Gaiden combat fun and good. Ryu Hayabusa's a f***ing ninja, and it ain't no lie, baby. Bye bye bye. Turns out running up walls and skull splitting dudes is pretty cool. Incidentally, turns out running on walls and multi-decapping scores of foes is even cooler. Using the environment to your advantage is
best thing
something
about
more
Normal.
action games should do, and this game was ahead of the curve compared to Devil May Cry on that front. Ryu Hayabusa's like that old high school friend you don't talk to, because he's got a lot of weapons. The player has all kinds of tools to work with if something's too challenging. Sometimes combat's a bit like a puzzle, and it's nice that the devs were willing to let you work it
The
out with lots of
environment is a
options.
huge
Lastly,
part
the
of
odds
Devil
are
May Cry's
stacked
combat.
against you in every fight. You slay hordes of ninjas and demons, and every fight is both frantic and strategic. You have to choose to commit yourself to a deadly combo, maybe cutting an enemy or two down, but always risking a back attack. It's why stuff like the Azuna drop and the flying swallow are so good. They're low-risk options that can hit multiple enemies. Very often you're safer
To
attacking
be
from
fair,
the
he
air
did say
if
he's
you
only
can get
played on
there.
normal,
The combat
so,
is
like,
tweaked, so even
that
weak
sentence
enemies are
makes sense.
scary. Getting grabbed for 40% of your health sucks, but at least you'll respect the enemy after. Most encounters are consistently engaging.
No regular
Unfortunately, the
enemy
game
has that
often
grab.
bogs down progression with excessive throwaway enemies, the bats, the insects, the stupid floating demons that only exist to get blasted by lightning, the ghost fish, and whoever designed them in particular can go explode. And for all that good stuff, someone at Team Ninja thought, what if... One fun line I came up with while playing Ninja Gaiden was, why won't they let the game be fun? And that's because mostly everything but raw combat has issues. The game is committed to variance, so
To be fair, like, and this is one thing where I think if you know, you know, but the red and blue rooms, like, if you don't know the shortcuts, are a huge pain in the ass. Like, those rooms absolutely suck without the shortcuts.
from combat to platforming segment to combat to puzzle, but so many of the platforming sections are just... Now, to be fair, some of
your
them are really
platforming just
good, and I
sucks,
like the
man.
way the level designs
no
often
offense,
encourage different
but-
ways to move through them. They're never just singular hallways leading to encounters, and the world feels more fleshed out for it. But take this section, for example, which would be fairly inoffensive if 4 hovering laser drones weren't constantly sweeping the room to knock you off the tiny platforms
tip,
you can
you
just
can't shoot them.
barely consistently jump to with the
Right.
awkward stick and camera controls. I think I spent 40 minutes in here, and this one can go bite buckets. And you know I love casually swimming in a water level for 30
Chapter
minutes in
11
my
sucks.
violent,
That's
neck-severing ninja game. Ninja
Shoot them
Gaiden
with
has
the
story
infinite
elements,
box of
characters, plot points, allegedly. I feel like Itagaki dumped a bunch of vague characters on the creative team's desk and told them to just do it. So later, the one writer's like, hey, Mr. Itagaki, sir, what should the tone for this scene be? And he's like, oh yeah, Ryu has
25
muscles.
minutes left.
The last major facet of gameplay is boss battles. They're huge, extremely dangerous, really make use of the enormous 3D space. For a first pass of what the series could be, they're not terrible. But I stand by the notion that the bosses
As
aren't
in,
great
am I now
overall, and I
too
think
quiet,
it's because the
or is the video too loud? See, this is where it's really annoying that I can't hear the stream like without an echo, which would be completely useless for audio levels.
devs can't assume what weapon the player is using. Now, some weapons do better in some fights than in others, but by and large, the game doesn't require the use of this or that weapon in battles because it can't. It throws enough weapons with different capabilities of the player, which need to be upgraded over time and most of which are optional pickups, that the player needs to be able to beat bosses with anything. Every boss is one of 3 flavors, more or less. A lumpy, unimpressive enemy with a fairly uninteresting fight that you can win by any means if you respect a few attacks, a Simon Says or Die fight where the enemy has very obvious tells and sometimes obvious patterns, but if you don't respect them and react appropriately, you just lose, and deadly duels that often have
Okay, it's really funny. His second summation there describes every single boss. There's not like 3 types of bosses. The second one is every single boss.
have bizarre and inconsistent properties. Behold the smelly trinity. The lumpy dudes usually go down in one pass, and I think they're a symptom of the devs designing a bunch of stuff and throwing it in just because. The Ice Cave maggot thing is almost harmless, along with 1/3 of King Ghidorah and this guy. They exist. Mostly only test your ability to roll and jump, and go down right away. They're not terribly memorable, but can make you feel good about yourself, like a quick rub on a Friday night. The Simon Says bosses, particularly the worms, are some of the worst. You'll often have to figure out the pattern through trial and error, so dying, running back, and
Someone needs to
restarting.
play
But once you have it
MP5.
down, the boss is harmless. It's just a matter of jumping when it says jump, and cutting when it says cut. Nothing I'm really proud of, and nothing really enjoyable. The dual enemies, particularly Alma, Doku, and Spirit Doku, and the final boss suffer from inconsistent defensive properties and bizarre hitboxes. None of them are consistently vulnerable to Flying Swallow, even when attacking them at seemingly identical
Don't
points
use
in the
Flying
recovery
Swallow.
animations. It makes some of the
That's
fights
not a
feel
whiffed
way
attack.
more like random scrambles than
The
measured
Alma,
duels.
that is
They have
legit on
impressive
Alma.
attacks, but crazy hitboxes. Spirit Doku's hard to keep up with because of the lack of clarity in his swings and how overwhelming they are, but regular
To be
Doku
fair, I'd
might
agree
be
with
even
that on
worse.
Spirit
Look at
Doku.
this.
Like, you
Do you
really...
think this is okay? I get that it's a
Hey, man.
hitbox that's bigger than
Level
the
up.
animation suggests, but like, shut up, game. Okay, the second issue is a bit of a nitpick. My real gripe is simple.
The
dual
phantom
bosses
hitbox
turn
on
into
his ground
repetitive
pound
cycles
is
of
crazy.
single attack or single combo into defense. They became incredibly stale for the sake of victory. None
What
of the
you- why are
bosses
you trying to
bespeak any
attack him there?
particularly
That's your
interesting
fault, man.
design.
Come
I really
on.
let Ryu go full combo mode with the player's weapon of choice. They give you a bit of an opening occasionally, barely make use of Flying Swallows, and
I mean,
never wall running
on the point of
mechanics.
Doku, though, like, just to you know, push up my NG glasses for a minute here. Doku is 100% vulnerable after sword throw, sword flurry, and lunge. 100%. Like, every time you can hit him. Every time. Spirit Doku, vulnerable after lunge and 360 slash. Like,
Never make you swap
Fiend
weapons
Mirai
in a
is,
fight or
like,
use particular
legit bullshit
projectiles
in
to open
Black, though.
weak spots. They never
Like,
really aspire
he
to
is
much
just
more than
stupid.
bash the boss. And even with a few weird standouts, you're still restricted in what you should do to win. It feels like, with how cool and free and environmentally interactive the combat is, the bosses should be more about environmental combat puzzle solving. They could be more. Again, they're not awful, they're just varied enough, but together they contribute to why the game is hard. Calling Ninja Gaiden difficult, I reiterate, isn't saying much. Typical combat is difficult, but it's a fun player-directed challenge. It doesn't feel hard. The rest, however, is a multitude of strangely varying challenges that culminate in an extremely choppy playthrough. A game that's constantly cutting its fun bits short for annoying ones. It's always mixing up the challenge, but sometimes less is more. Shoot, maybe I should have played Sigma. It's fighting the weird camera, failing through so many stiff and awkward
Sigma's
platforming
harder.
sections, swimming through water at half speed, getting lost in Tyrant, and so many full-stop boss fights. Fights that force you to learn and, in particular, obey before you can keep
That's a bad thing.
playing. It barely masks its many progression killers as novelty, and there's some value in that for some players.
Everybody just heard that, right? That's a bad thing? Like, that's a bad boss fight?
The people who appreciate the world Ninja Gaiden is selling. A dog-eat-dog warzone where only the master ninja thrives. The repeat player. The difficulty challenger. The game's progression is bizarre as well. It starts out
like,
so strong with the village and
that's
tyrant
a
sections.
bad
Like, those
thing.
can be hard,
Like-
allegedly playthrough ending, but it's all doable with some defensive play. Then you go underground and the game tanks with it, halting your progress, making fights
zombie bit is
brutally
boring,
long.
yeah.
But by the time you get out, do some more levels,
Yeah.
the game's done before
Yeah,
you
exactly,
know it.
Susan.
Who's the final boss? Who's Grillface? Oh my god, it's impossible.
Overall, it's less difficult than 2, I'd argue, because it's not designed to physically age you like that game. And the devs were actually fairly charitable to the player. They must have known how hard it could be and left a lot of free healing items throughout the levels. The player's given many tools to complete combat segments in their own way, and
So,
powerful
yeah,
ninpo,
like, you missed
which
it. He's
all
vulnerable
grant
there.
hefty invincibility frames and free damage to many bosses. Get out of jail free cards for unfun fights. And while the game grades your performance,
fair,
low
Emperor
scores
2
never actively
is
hurt you, though it'd be a
pretty
bit of a help
stupid,
if high
but he is a
scores
pretty
let you
stupid
upgrade
boss.
weapons faster. Despite my gripes, the game throws hurdle after hurdle at you, but always allows you to pass them, with enough cunning, effort, and time. Yes, now for a Chad's game. Now, I think some people like Sigma, because you can fight the,
So to summarize the NGB segment, I gotta say, it's a perfect example of stuff where, I don't know, I mean, I'm glad I'm not the only one who picked up on it, really. It just, so many contradictions in the so-called critique. You know, just, yeah, like, just really,
the Statue
really
of Liberty,
strange.
but I think it's best experienced raw and uncut.
And cheesy.
So Itagaki strapped Ryu into a chair one day and did a little acupuncture session, turning him into a roid-raging psychopath, and now the game's turf. Game's playing at twice the speed, old dude's getting dunked. Oh, that's
Yeah,
bull.
that's a good
New
point, too.
shurikens don't do damage. The creators are extremely straight. If I stopped after the first 2 chapters, I would have thought this was the best game in the series. Let me level with you. This game's a hard love it or hate it, and there's a lot to hate. But god, it's so
Yeah.
fun. The game's way less appropriate for all audiences than before. Enemy arms flop off with
I'm just going to make a prediction before he gets into this. I'm guessing he's probably going to be kinder to this, because Ninja Gaiden 2 on normal, assuming he's playing on normal, is way more forgiving of mashing. Like, you can get away with just
the
mashing
Azuna drop
on the
turns
lower
torsos
difficulties.
to
You
pulp in a
absolutely
flash.
can.
You can execute limping enemies for a few seconds of free time, and a flashy animation. Ryu is totally demented! When enemies appear, the walls are getting a paint job courtesy of the Dragon Ninja. It's disgusting. You'll love to see it. Weapons were a big deal before, but Ryu's fixing for a full-scale FBI investigation this time. So many weapons, so many ways to kill, such huge move pools. The game is fine with letting some enemies suck to fight because there's more than one weapon for everything. I really love weapons like the Kasari Gamma and their huge AoE potential, shredding whole rooms to bits and dunking Dumbos. The Eclipse Scythe always comes out for a big enemy, and Ryu can combo kill any solo enemy with the flails without a scratch. Y'all wanna learn how to do a f***ing infinite? Even the Dragon Sword allows for consecutive
Yeah,
flying
use the
swallows.
flails on Master Ninja.
Dude! Of course, they put more enemies in the game, noticeably more. Itagaki invited the
it's-
entire
it's
demon
like the
realm and every
360
ninja
version.
clan on the planet, because these f***s are absolutely swarming in every level, every room. You can't stand still, and the game's always ready to let you know.
Piss off.
It often spawns enemies behind you, and even more frequently has you turn a corner or run down a hall into the classic, fuck. This game suffers from frame rate terrorism, constantly throwing enough bodies at the player that the game slows to a crawl. You gotta see it to believe it. How about this clip? Oh, I appear to have clipped through the railing with flying.
To be fair, at the start of the video, he said he did a fair amount of research on what was the best version. Is there anyone not saying the Xbox One version of NG2 is the one you should play?
swallow revealing 30 leaping psychopaths, and the performance is tanking off a
Yeah,
cliff.
like-
The enemies seriously aren't a joke. Ranged attackers, hard to stagger enemies. Ninja dogs? If you cut off a guy's legs, he'll crawl towards you and try to take you both out. Like, the first boss turns into a normal enemy later. I know that's not saying much, but when the game throws 3 of them and a plethora of elite ninja assassins at you simultaneously, it's brutal. It's harrowing. If the first game was about using all your tools to win, this game's about abusing whatever you can to scrape by. I mean, this game taught
That's
me to
pretty
abuse
a
charging
good
ultimate
summation.
techniques, and specifically essence charging. Things that were in the last game, but were hardly necessary. But this game will teach you quick. Drops you in a room, poof, there's a gang
Yeah,
of
not normal.
ninjas and an ex-boss monster. The camera won't cooperate, and the game's moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You barely have time to think, and certainly no time to get away. You're going to die. You start attacking, pull back, take a moment to breathe, and launch a fireball. Take a few more hits, see your chance, charge a cheeky ultimate move, and tear through a few of them. See in essence, insta-charge and put that spider in the dirt. It's exhilarating in a way many games can never be. Deadass reminds me of Marvel, no other comparison. The game cheeses you all kinds of times, but those real smelly ones only pop up once. Invisible mines after a boss fight, indeed. And honestly, the game's pretty fair with the ninpo iframes and, like the last game, letting you pause even mid-combo to heal up with consumables. Every impish Itagaki trick could make for a potential bullet point in a gaming sins script, but as a whole, they're harmless and add a little character to the game. I can see a boy winking through
Yeah,
his
honestly, like,
sunglasses.
there's
Cheeky
nothing really
coon. For all
sort
my
of,
apologism, the game suffers from a problem that comes
the
perhaps
only
from
thing, as I
reduction of
said,
the last
about the
game's
frame rate,
non-combat
like,
segments. It's funny,
why
I thought
he's
Black
playing
would
the
be better
360
off
version,
ditching
I
its
like,
Resident Evil level
what are you
design and
doing?
frustrating
Like-
platforming bits, but this game's mostly that. Linear kill rooms, and it kinda sucks. Okay, it's not that clear-cut. The levels are often open enough, thought out enough to feel real. You cycle through a few different challenges, which mostly amount to extremely easy platforming segments, annoying arrow spam segments, and even the kill rooms consider physical space and let the player play a video game. To be fair, there's a fat chunk of boring square rooms with no interactive elements, and that's a shame. And all the challenges are back to back, right? You don't have to jog halfway back through Tyrant to open a door. It's just raw progression.
Maybe.
The struggle is burnout.
got
It's
60,000
endless waves of
subscribers.
enemies, the constant
I
need
don't
for
know about
alertness, the cheap little gotcha moments the game keeps throwing at you, the barrage of assorted projectiles streaming at the player, and free heals at save points or not, you're gonna be strapped for health. It's really rough sometimes, almost a slog. It's constantly stopping progress with fights that force you to change up your tactics, and I wouldn't be shocked if it was just too much for the average player. So let's switch it up and talk about the world.
That's the
I really like-
that's the set. I hate to harp on it, but like that's like the second or third time he's brought that up as a negativeness. Like, you know, that
to what Black did. It clearly took place in a modern setting, but the relics of the past, the weird magical elements, and the ruins built under the fictional Tyrant helped to convey a mystical
That's
other
a very
reality.
bizarre
Ninja
thing to
Gaiden 2
critique,
checks most
like,
of that out
in
the
an
window
action
and gives
game.
us Tokyo, but taller. Russia, New York, Venice.
conversely, like, is also critique that in that it's boring, and it's like, well, if it's boring or like it's a slog, but you're constantly forced to change things up, then how is that monotonous? Like, that's the opposite of monotonous.
It's just the real world with some odd tweaks. Getting backdoored by demons. I kind of wish they fleshed the thing out as a cool alternate Earth. Now, the characters that populate the setting are aggressively forgettable. It's an achievement. Starting with Rachel's no-value replacement, though I have to say, Itagaki's porcelain doll fetish is getting on my nerves. Why is Rasputin here? Who's this? I'm kidding, I don't care. There's a lot of demons,
that
like this one.
Your path is one of sound and fury.
Nah, I've mentioned that before. I'm only really doing this just for a bit of fun, because, and I don't mean this like jokingly. Like, my perspective on Ninja Gaiden means absolutely nothing to 99.9% of people that play it. It just doesn't. You know, it's as I said, it's like going up to a 100-year-old race car driver and like saying, oh, you know, like, what do you think about this? And it's like their answer is going to be like, well, like, it's, you know,
You don't get to misquote Macbeth at me. No, no! I guess if you wanted to, you could say the plot is... The bosses are equal to or worse than the previous game, depending on your viewpoint. Look, they're hard stops or free
I would say the
passes.
bosses
ones
are,
that you
like,
get stuck on,
unequivocally
you're really
bad
getting
in
stuck on, and
NG2,
others die in
to be
2
fair.
seconds. None of them have any kind of considered or environmentally minded design, though the environment often serves as a
like,
hindrance
I think
or
Genshin
limitation
is the
during
only
battle.
good
A
boss
lot of
in
boss
NG2.
types exist, just like before, but certain horrible
The
ones
troll's
stand
not
out
bad
so
just
much
because he's
more.
free.
The extreme
I mean, yeah, maybe Susa. It's just, I don't know. Maybe that's me. Maybe I'm wrong in that assumption. Maybe people do care, but I would imagine that like people wouldn't really wouldn't be that interested because my perspective is one that is a result of like more playtime than anybody. What's up, Gamoth? One of the things that bothered me the most about the video is that he doesn't seem to know there is more content to NG. Well, I'm going to get to
busy
that
double armadillo
when I'm
fight,
finished
the
watching.
completely formulaic first phase of the final boss.
But I do like, to be fair, like I think his like points on NG2 really are like pretty much like on the money. I've always said like NG2's story mode is pretty shit. Like there's no nice way to say that. I don't think the story mode in NG2 is really any good.
Dragons
like,
that shouldn't
survival
exist.
mode
Whatever
is,
the floating metal caterpillar.
I mean, yeah, like these, like the NG2
Giga
bosses
Death
are
is-
so bad.
Oh my god. Are you seeing this? I can't!
These fights were just awful, and the common element is not being able to hit them, long waiting times, and excessive defensive play, to the point where you're just flipping around mindlessly. And a focus on
Giga
arrows.
Death might be one of the worst
Defensive
bosses
play
like
is fine
ever
these games.
in an
If you
action
ignore
game.
it, you're
Like,
dead.
he
But
really
other bosses
is
do
bad.
it better. Bosses like Alexi and the Macbeth Demon, who are vulnerable at specific points, throw out crazy fast attacks you have to dodge, but can be made vulnerable with aggressive play once you understand them. And often they go down quickly. The challenge lies in getting in and doing your damage swiftly and cleanly. I can appreciate those fights, but I don't appreciate Genshin. Genshin is a battle fought 4 times, and quite literally the fun ender that caps off literally decapitates the most fun segment of the game. He's supposed to be a deadly rival, so like Doku from the last game, but even Doku let you jump and Flying Swallow. Genshin is Doku with even more restrictions. He has fewer utility moves, mostly just rushes Ryu down, and has pretty clear punish windows once you've gotten tossed around a bit, but will often surprise the player with counterattacks and random blocking, so that's fun. If you Flying Swallow, Genshin will likely block. If you jump and he's free, he'll Flying Swallow you.
Don't
It's
jump.
supposed to feel like a fair match, but you quickly realize the strategy boils down to repeatedly dashing away and blocking, and when the opening comes, getting a few cheeky hits off before running back. It's not a duel, well, not a flashy one anyway. It's an oppression session. It kind of blows my mind that even in this game, NG2, the turbo installment, the gory slash fest, that most of the important fights never go wild,
also-
never give the player window.
I don't want to rag much, but also this is on normal, or like this is on Acolyte or Warrior. Like Genshin is dead in like 3 strings on this difficulty. Yeah, Genshin. Yeah.
To really wail on these enemies and, enact the gameplay they've learned everywhere else in the endless fights before the bosses. Ninja Gaiden's fun isn't celebrated by its
I was
hardest
just about to say
challenges.
before we started talking
Why is
about
that? I guess
Genshin, like
you
it's
could
weird
call
he
it
hasn't
fitting that a
mentioned
more
Genshin
serious
yet, as
fight
he is
would ask
the
that
best
Ryu,
boss in the
overly
game.
serious wretch that he is, act like a true ninja, deadly and clean, quiet and calm. But I don't feel good in Ninja Gaiden because I did the right thing. I feel good because I did the crazy cool ninja move. You don't get crazy cool ninja moves against Genshin, or most bosses.
Oh yeah,
for
it
that
would.
matter.
Yeah, I've got
Game's
this
a
up just so
total
I can
wreck.
see the
I love
chat
it to death.
on
Ninja Gaiden
OBS.
2 has the balls to burn the player out, spit in the player's eyes, then turn on the strobe lights and jam Nightcore in their ears. I'd easily go back and play it before any other entry, and that's because, all things considered, it's all about the blades, the blood, and the fun.
Yeah, that
Then
doesn't surprise me
Itagaki
at all.
left. Can't
The
polish
thing
a
is,
turd,
though,
right? Can't sharp
like if you watch the gameplay, especially in NG2, like you can really tell he's just mashing. Like surrounded by Gargers with a Vangelf right next to you, like you just like you wouldn't do that string.
sharpen a heart either, it just starts gushing blood. So Ninja Gaiden 3 is an unfortunate step for the series, and you gotta wonder how much of it could have been
That's an
diverted by just
understatement.
paying
Isn't that
Itagaki
Razor's
a
Edge?
bonus check. Whatever, that's all muddy.
Yeah, that's
outside
Razor's
the
Edge.
scope
That's
of
not
this
vanilla
critique.
NG3. That's Razor's Edge he's playing.
And the other game wasn't the final nail, but Yaiba is smelly, so begone, spirit. The game tanked so bad for a big deal franchise that they tightened a lot of crap and released Razor's Edge, the effective Ninja Gaiden Black to the original. Only people liked Black. Maybe because the game was good to begin with. This entry focuses on elements of the series that weren't previously explored, pushing to integrate narrative elements into gameplay, really doubling down on the story for some reason, trying to make every seg from
God,
kill room to
NG3
kill
really
room
was a weird
significant,
game.
often to its detriment. You know, pushing that AAA cinematic feel. Y'all like 8-hour movies? Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2 both caused me to take some time off while playing through, often days at a time, cause sometimes you gotta clear your head. Ninja Gaiden 3 took 3 recording sessions. If you slam your skull into the disc, you too can emerge triumphant. Anyway, my thumb broke, so the
What's
game
up, Spear?
focuses
Sorry, I
mainly
didn't know
on
if I didn't
combat, much
know
like
if
the
I,
last
said
game.
hello.
You walk from kill room to kill room, maybe with a little platforming
Yeah, see, I can't
segment, and
really,
more
like,
commonly
I
a very
genuinely
painful
can't
quick time
comment on
event in
on
between.
Razor's Edge
Like
because I've not
2,
played
the
it.
game burns you out. Unlike 2, it's done entirely without consideration for the player. Say what you want about 2 being excessive, at least the fights were noticeably finite. When you walked in a room, you often knew what you'd be killing, because enemies quite literally presented themselves all at once. Razor's Edge, in contrast, drip feeds enemies into the conflict, and really extends the amount of time a fight can go on for. The game is extremely quick, gory, and requires the player to pay attention or die, and because we're playing the enhanced port, cutting off limbs and the new steel on bone mechanics spice up play. Steel on bone mechanic is a fancy way to say when the enemy glows an ugly bruise color, do a heavy attack and rip him to shreds for free. And it's kinda
You
necessary.
know, funnily enough, the steel on bone thing was like the one thing I thought was actually kind of cool in NG3, like in vanilla NG3. Like once you got that down and would chain it, like that was actually kind of fun.
Because jump into instant essence charge is gone, so players don't have the option to tactically use invincibility periods as often. In some ways, it's harder than the others. And other times, you're just mashing and quick dashing between dudes, sometimes getting executions for mashing. To be honest, I found the combat easiest with the talons, because it gave
least you didn't
hefty
pick the
iframes,
Sigma
let me
games.
constantly be attacking but able to cancel out, and sometimes gave me free kills with steel on bone. The problem is, my f***ing thumb hurts after every single fight. This game burnt me out harder than 2 ever could, and that's just a consequence of everything needing to be something. Traveling up a cliff, climb with kunai. Basic platforming, shoot the rockets down first or die. Always take down the ranged attackers in every battle or die on fire. Do 5 back-to-back fights with endlessly spawning difficult to fight monsters. Finished? I know you're low on health, so here's an acid floor. And another one.
I
There's
remember
still
that
more
room.
for the next save point.
I
Also,
do
shout
remember
out
that
to the
room.
original for only having the dragon sword playable with DLC weapons, you idiots. Like in 2, enemies spawn behind
Is that
you,
right?
but sometimes it just doesn't. Why in this room? What? Other times you're just trying to have a ninja run. Notice how I stop and stare, preconditioned into being afraid.
Did they
Then
put DLC weapons in 3? I did not play 3 much after release. Yeah, vanilla. So, I thought Razor's Edge had the weapons in it to begin with. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Talons and Scythe were in Vanilla 3. Yeah.
What? I think this game hates me. Real quick, I know your thumb's having a hard time, but could you mash, like, really hard with your thumb to beat these QuickTime events? Yeah, no problem. Razor's Edge adds unnecessary Ione sections, which had some good platforming early, and I was so excited that they wouldn't suck. No,
They were
they're
free
not
for a limited
necessary.
time.
Please expunge yourselves from this game. Is it worth talking about the bosses? Okay. Yo, Ryu, you want to fight a dinosaur? Here he is! Check that out. What the fuck? They're not all bad, though a couple really get into
totally forgot you
obnoxious
do fight a
progression
T-Rex
hiccup
in that
territory
game.
with constant QuickTime events to take down some giant enemy, and honestly, what's the fun of a Ninja Gaiden boss if it's framed cinematically? If I'm destined to win, those desperate 1v1 struggles feel infinitely more substantive because at least it's a challenge where the player has to create their
You know, I
own
just
action
thought about-
shots, you know? I'll grant that some of them
Remind me to bring up clones.
are multi-part active challenges that require strategy. I like the spider tank because you gotta reveal its weak point by ripping 4 plates off after comboing them. It's telling the player to quickly and frantically do their damage, and the more plates come off, the harder it gets. But you can save them all for one quick go at the end and win safer. It's kinda cool. Some of the bosses are just abuse steel on bone or die. At least it's a mechanics check, though it should have come earlier. I don't know what to make of the masked man fight. In one way, he's like the Doku Genshin of this game.
He's definitely
Nice, right,
up there.
dork. But I never got my finger on the pulse of the battle. You fight him 4 times, and despite his attacks being consistent throughout, I needed to use different tactics every time. And I don't know why. The guy can kill you extremely fast. It's frantic and harrowing.
I
It only
really don't
got
get
tough
why he
in
keeps...
the final version.
That's like the 5th time he's brought that up as a bad thing. Like, I don't get why that's considered bad in an
Where
action
seemingly nothing I did previously worked on him. It makes me feel like I stumbled through with blind luck each time. Maybe there's some merit to the straightforward Doku and Genshin fights.
You probably
after all.
did.
Overall,
Like,
half the bosses were easy, and the
what's
other
up,
half
Habupa?
took about as long
I'm
as
guessing
the
a
whole
few of
level
you have watched
previous
this,
to
then.
take down, counting the retries. It's wildly unsatisfying to do so well and suck in equal measure. But the most standout problem to me is story. I can choose to take breaks and avoid carpal tunnel, right? But the story is integral to the game, even gameplay. We get a lot of slow and stilted dialogue, a lot of new characters, a lot of scenes,
Gigadeath
even
is the
awkward
pinnacle of
character
NG
development, and
busters.
it's kind of baffling that they went in this direction. Ninja Gaiden is a game where a ninja kills a Macbeth-quoting demon in a clock tower. Ninja Gaiden is a game where you lop off 5 heads simultaneously with wind blades. Ninja Gaiden cannot make a female character without doing this. Why ascribe any kind of weight to this absolute train wreck of a narrative base? Why build on this? So naturally, the only answer is
It
to
really
get the
is a
guy who
weird
wrote Chrono Trigger.
game.
The writer here
NG3,
worked on Chrono
like,
Trigger, Xenogears, Final Fantasy VII, all kinds of
Like,
big
they
names, and
really
some
push
World of
the
Mana
story
games. This
hard
ain't
in
no
that
rube.
game.
Some of the work's hit or miss, sure, and writing isn't usually just one dude, and even then you have to work the story into the game. It's a tough gig, but this thing's a mess. I understand a bit was cut between this game and the original, specifically Ryu slaughtering, surrendering mercenaries, and it's clear they wanted to push the idea that Ryu's a monster. I mean, he is a brutal murderer. Maybe you've heard. And that's a great conceit to push in the story. So Ryu gets this cursed arm that's basically going to outright destroy him for all his murder.
Oh,
Past
what's
and
up, Crit
present.
Damage?
Decent scenes like this one with the little girl are dripping with tension, cause you're waiting for the guy to go crazy and just tear her head off. But in practice, the arm makes you limp around for a while, then enters some kind of nightmare
kinda weird, though, like,
realm where
it's not
to
like
quell the
Ryu
murderous
just
spirits
mindlessly
trying to punish
kills,
Ryu
like,
for his
people.
murder, he has to
Usually
murder them into oblivion to
monsters.
chill out. Pop his in, bro, man, just chill. Like, this would have been the perfect place to reinforce that Ryu's a master of discipline, and just make you do a quick time event with a button combination to end it, or something. It's his most defining character trait, and it saves minor thumb damage from the exhaustion of repetitive battles. Why are we doubling down on the trash?
What's up, Lions?
Or, like others have suggested, why not make killing or murder charge a bar that gives you a power-up? Really have Ryu embody the Satsui no Hado, you know? Make him a Kuma. Give him
That's
the
true,
old...
Sushi.
It just kind of drops the ball by implying he's a terrible person, even though he'd be dead otherwise, making him kill, having the little girl scream, then vaguely hand-waving his crimes in the end. It's dumb. The conflict didn't matter. Other idiot things include the little girl going full Drakengard, then her dad going, yeah, I'm gonna try to kill you now, Ryu, even though we had that last level together, because I have to at least, like, pretend to be a decent dad and stop you from killing her. So you kill him, stop the girl, and it all works out in the end. He died for nothing! All of this to push this false characterization of Ryu as a loving
It's
parental
focusing on the
substitute.
story a lot.
Ryu
Yeah, I was
doesn't
gonna
need
say,
to be
yeah, it's,
humanized.
like,
He's
really
a vehicle
focusing on
for
the
mass
story in
murder.
3.
And if you're gonna do it, make it understandable, yeah? Make it hard for Ryu to relate with other people. Make it so when he's called a murderer, or when doubt is cast on his character, he feels it, because everybody knows who he is and what he can do. Hype that tension up between other characters. Don't make him the soft-hearted substitute parent who splits dudes' skulls open and bathes in viscera daily. I think the grossest thing about this game is how unlike Ninja Gaiden it is, but looks the part. How it wears the game's skin. Yeah, different doesn't mean bad, but if you're highlighting all the things Ninja Gaiden sucks at, except overlong platforming, maybe you're on the wrong path. Even if Itagaki remained...
If you suck at platforming,
It's hard to say what Ninja Gaiden would have become. One thing's certain, hand someone's vision to someone else and things will never be the same. The first 2 games are leagues ahead of the 3rd installment, and the
Wait, karma
reality
window.
to me is that those games knew what they were and tried not to
There
bog
it
the
is.
game down with so much excess, trimming the fat without trimming the heart. When a particularly long or frustrating section happened, it was a mountain.
To be fair, like this is where you get into the territory where, like, to me the platforming is totally fine, but I don't like, you know, I've put enough time into where, like, the platforming, like, and I never really found it that tricky to begin with, to be perfectly honest. I really didn't. Like, it's the platforming in NG is really, really good, but it's like every other aspect of that game. You have to actually learn how to do it.
Dropped in front of.
I think maybe that's a bigger thing now. The term platforming now in games is almost meaningless, because people would call something like Assassin's Creed platforming, where you literally just, like, hold down 2 buttons and it does everything for you. Like, that's I don't know, maybe that's why. You can literally walk against the platform in NGB without falling to make sure you're at the very edge and then press jump. Yeah, you can. That's true. But again, like, you won't
when
know
3
that
gets long
unless
and
you play a bit.
frustrating, that's just the game. The good news is the older entries hold up pretty well today. And the actual good news is, now that I've beaten some really hard games, no one will ever say I suck at games again, right?
You're on the internet, dude.
Hey, it's K-Bash. Special thanks goes out to my $4 patrons whose
wouldn't
names
worry
are on the
about that.
screen.
I mean, like, okay, so video is over. The NG3 stuff was very story heavy. He barely talked about the gameplay in that game, really. That was very, very story focused. Yeah, the biggest thing, like, the comments on the platforming in Black and the comments about Genshin in NG2, and just the boss stuff, it's really weird. Maybe it's just, I mean, I was like this when I reviewed games. Thanks, Mr. Yeah, I was like this when I reviewed games. When I was working for Player Affinity, before I reviewed a game, I beat it minimum. Like, I mean, I did it before I worked there anyway. But before I reviewed a game, I beat it on every single difficulty it had. Like, my, like, review structure was usually, like, first playthrough on normal, second playthrough on hard, third playthrough on easy, and then I'd probably go back and play through it again, just, like, bits and pieces through saves, just to test a few things. So then when I talked about things like combat in the review, I wasn't just talking about playing the game on normal, because a lot of the stuff with regards to NGB and 2, like, he was way more positive on NG2 than Black, because 2 is just more masher friendly on normal. Black isn't, you know? I've never played NG2 3 RE. The NGB part alone made me confused because he basically describes using the right moves to the right situations as a bad thing. Yeah, that came up plenty of times in the video. And he has no idea NGB's story mode isn't even the full experience until very hard. That's true, yeah. But yeah, like, the higher difficulties, you get different enemies on it. Again, it's where... Yeah, you definitely do, Susa, 100%. I mean, in NG2 especially, dual swords, talons, flails, tonfa, Sarigama, and the scythe. So what, 6 out of the 8 weapons, you can just mash on normal, and you'll be totally fine. Like, you'll be absolutely fine. Because you're just dealing so much, like, you're putting so much damage out there versus what the enemies can do to you. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, that was fine. It's pretty much exactly what I'd expect from someone just playing through them once. And they're not games to be played like that. I think that's the thing that, you know, that is the bigger thing with like, modern games, is it feels like, at least, that modern games are just intended to be played once or twice, if, you know, at most, maybe 3 times, maybe. Whereas you look at older games, you are clearly meant to play through the higher difficulties on NGB. Like, hard mode introduces new enemies. Bosses will now have minions. It changes up the item distribution. Items are more expensive. Enemies are more dangerous, but they give you more money when you kill them, so there is a bigger incentive to fight them. And there's a even bigger incentive for using the ultimate technique system, because you get way more money when you kill them like that. But using the ultimate technique system requires you to forego collecting essence in fights, so there is a higher risk associated with doing it. Played once, then buy the Season Pass DLC to get a few extra quests. Yeah, it really is, and I think it's the same for DMC. Like, Devil May, and that really baffles me. I mean, I mentioned this when I played through DMC 5, but DMC 5 seemed to do extremely well review-wise, and I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't on the level of 3 and 4 for me. Like, not even close. Breath of the Wild is still the best Zelda game, but it's locked its hard mode behind DLC. Wow, really? Oh, that's weird. Camille says the entire first playthrough of his games are the tutorial. I mean, yeah, that's kind of how it should be, you know? It's, you do, yeah, and Dragon Sword's really good. If anybody's not played Dragon Sword, definitely play that. That's an amazing game. You don't even need to say, like, that's a great handheld game, or it's a great DS game. Like, it's just a fucking amazing game. Like, you can get a DS now for, like, the price of a box of cornflakes on eBay. Like, get a DS and get NG on it. It's so good. It's so goddamn good. But I think that, like, that video is just it's just the way games are these days. Like for example, imagine playing Bayonetta once. Imagine just playing Bayonetta on normal and then never touching it again and never going through the higher difficulties and seeing the differences that the game introduces on higher modes. It's really strange. It's just the way things are. Like, you know, games just aren't meant to. They're not designed to be played that way anymore. Like the biggest thing, the only thing that I like seriously disagree with in the video is the comments about the platforming, because that's just wrong. Like, that's just wrong. Like, I could turn on NGB right now and, like, show you why that's not the case. You know, everything else, like, is pretty standard. What's up, Phyllis? Platinum is one of those only devs. That's true, yeah. That's actually very true. Yeah, I mean, I just mentioned Bayonetta. Vanquish. Imagine playing Vanquish. I mean, Vanquish, I don't know. Vanquish on normal is not a cakewalk, but it's not overly... It doesn't really require you to really, like, take in the game's more, like, advanced systems and mechanics. But imagine if you just played Vanquish on, like, casual, and that was it. Imagine, like, your impression of Vanquish if you just played that difficulty mode. You would think, man, like this game... It wouldn't be crap. Like, Vanquish is too mechanically, like, sound to be considered bad. But if you played Vanquish on just normal or casual, and then that was it, and never touched its challenge mode, you probably would be like, oh yeah, that game was alright. Like, it was a pretty fun shooter. Like, play it on hard. Play challenge mode, play God hard, and you're like, oh shit. like that's where you learn the game, you know? So yeah, you want to talk about the game. Is that World of Warcraft, Wanza? Is NGB platforming complaints to the classic platforming noob trap that launches you into an overcomplicated jump? Yeah, it's true. I mean, but as I said, I think the biggest thing... Oh, Wonderful 101. I thought you meant wow. I think that's just because of how platforming is considered in modern gaming. Platforming is... I don't know, like true platforming has just been watered down so much to the point where, as I said, like Assassin's Creed is considered platforming. You know, holding down 2 buttons and having the game literally do it for you is considered platforming. And I think that, like, that's not platforming. Like, NGB, and again, this comes from a unique perspective, but I would actually love, like, a platformer in like the vein of NGB. Does anybody remember the old Prince of Persia games on PS2 mainly? They had really, really great platforming, but it was relatively not automated, but your character was like glue, like he stuck to everything, so it did make it quite easy. NGB's platforming is Prince of Persia's platforming, but just way less forgiving. When you wall run in NGB, in Prince of Persia, you walk up to a wall, you hold down right trigger, I want to say, or R2 on PS2, and you just run along the wall. It's a set distance, like you run along the wall. In NGB, you have to go up to the wall, you have to angle yourself so you know when you jump forward you'll hit the wall, you have to know where you're going to hit the wall, you have to know how many steps you're going to take before you jump off, or whether you're going to fall off and do like a deliberate short wall run, and then you have to know where you're going to land and where you're going to hit on the wall when you jump off it. In Prince of Persia, you run up to it and press one button. That's the difference. But the abilities are the same. Like, Prince of Persia, you can jump off walls. You hold the run button and you press X. On NGB, you have to hold the direction in and actually watch your feet so you jump off in the right places. Otherwise, you'll mess up and you can take damage. Like, the Prince of Persia trilogy is fucking awesome, man. Like, that's one of my games that I'd use on a remake. I think someone asked, like, one of the remakes was like Prince of Persia Sands of Time. I'd love a full-on remake of that. I'm just missed that one. Yeah, Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends are fucking awesome. They are amazing platformers, and they do a really good job too. Like, their curve is really, really good. They start off like fairly straightforward, but once you get to the end levels, they are pretty rough. Like, they are hard. Ori and the Blind Forest does that actually too, really well. But yeah, like, Sands of Time trilogy is amazing, man. It's so good. Yeah, he does as well, Susan, yeah. NGB is just a platformer with some combat sprinkled in. But here's the other thing too, and this is where, like, I'm not using this as a critique, because this is an advanced tactic, but you will only really see more seasoned players really take advantage of NGB's platforming in combat. You don't see new players do that. For example, the instant wall run drop UT move that I keep saying everybody like doesn't use because it's annoying, because it's such a good move. That is not easy to do. It's not easy to do. It's very, very high risk. Like, if you mess it up, you're going to get hit. If you mess up your on landing, you're going to get nailed. All the stuff I just mentioned about positioning a jump, you have to do that in a split second. You have to just... It has to be muscle memory. Like, you can't... It's just one of those things. 1 second, guys. Alright, sorry about that, guys. So many hidden expert techniques in Rayman. Yeah, I mean, I've only completed Rayman, like, as just basically a normal playthrough, and then went back through it to clean up stuff. I've no doubt there is. But, like, that's the great stuff about games like that, you know? That's also true, Susa. But yeah, as I said, the platforming stuff in NGB, it's a shame, because I really feel like that game should, and like, it should try and like get people to use the platforming in combat. Wall cling is amazing in combat, where you just jump into a wall and then you go into neutral and Ryu just does that like cling to the wall. That's an amazing thing to do in combat, but it doesn't really tell you like why you should do it. That's a great point though that Wyansis made about the hidden expert techniques. I feel like they're the kind of things that are disappearing from games. I really do. Good example. In DMC 1, on Dante Must Die, the vast majority of enemies have, I think, blades do, Froststone, all the sins do, the phantoms do, Cyclops do. Yeah, like all but what, like maybe 3 or 4 enemies have a very, very specific weak point that if you hit, you can either kill them in like 1 or 2 hits or significantly weaken them. When you play through that game at the start, you won't know how to do that because you're just, you're learning the game, you're learning the ropes. In NGB, it's a really, really simple technique, but hardly anyone uses it. People don't seem to know. Forward Y into Fiend Sealer is like one of the most broken things in the entire game. Forward Y into Fiend Sealer or counter Y into Fiend Sealer with the Dragon Sword, even up until very hard, will kill just about anything it hits instantly. And Fiend Sealer's hitbox is insanely big. Like, you can ground enemies with the Fiend Sealer. He also didn't mention smoke bombs at all in NGB. But no one does. That's fine. Like, to be fair, like, most of the NG community at the time thought smoke bombs were crap, so it's just... there's probably some old posts on GameFAQs of me saying, like, yo, smoke bombs are really good, man. Like, you guys should use them. And just no one paying any attention. But, yeah, I think in a weird way, though, I think, like, that... it's ironic. It's kind of actually really fitting, because it is a modern critique, actually. Because I think, yeah, it is looking at that game through, like, modern eyes. It's like, imagine someone... Okay, here's a thing, and I've said this before, but... smoke bombs are either useless or too high IQ. Yeah, they are. That's a good way to put them. Can you imagine someone going back and playing Devil May Cry 1, DMC 1, or DMC 3 for their first time on any difficulty above normal? Not even Dante Must Die, but just go back and play like vanilla DMC 3 on hard as your first run, or DMC 1 on hard mode as your first run, without knowing anything about the game. The vast majority of people, dare I say, probably wouldn't get past the second room in the first mission. You mean an uncultured critique? I wouldn't say that, no. It is a modern critique. Like, as I said, like, it is a modern critique. It's just that games aren't what they were 15 years ago. It's easy to forget, but NGB is 15 years old. You know, it's an old game. It's not a new game. NG2 is 12 years old. You know, these are old games now. We're not. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I'd agree with that on Worry. The reason I say the second room is because if my memory serves, which it probably does in situations like this, on hard mode, in DMC 1, the room where you come up out of the first, like, proper fight underground has 4 or 5 Bloody Marys and a fetish in it. On hard mode, if you're just, like, I'm hitting my buttons with the sword and they're blocking me and, oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. This game sucks. Like, you would have to, okay, as soon as they block, stop hitting them and back off. The fetish's grab or their lunge move is one shot on hard mode, you're dead. DMC 3 probably wouldn't get past the second level on the boss, with the scythe boss on hard mode. Because most people's approach is just hit the buttons. And most action games, to be fair, let you get away with that on normal. Like, you can get away with doing it because the damage you deal is so high that you might take a few hits here and there, but you only got to hit it. Like, you've only got to hit it one more time. It's the same with God of War. God of War is exactly the same. Whenever people talk about God of War, like, not having any depth, you can tell they have, like, they've only played it on normal. It's like, you play any God of War game on very hard and button mash against even fodder enemies, and, like, yeah, let me know how that goes. Like, that's not going to work. Like, if you don't actually learn the stun mechanics of that game, you're dead. fight like any boss. Like if you're just mashing away at a boss on God of War's very hard difficulty, most bosses kill you in like 2 or 3 hits. Like they give you like a couple of mistakes, and then you're dead. You have to learn how to play the game, and unfortunately, you just don't really have to do that all that much anymore. Oh, okay, that's not something I need to look at now. Yeah, it's weird. I think it's quite interesting because it as I said, like it really is a modern critique because the like from at least from what the video looks like. I mean, in NGB, he didn't even mention mission mode. I think someone else said that earlier in the chat. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but he didn't even mention mission mode. Mission mode is way harder. Mission mode's normal, like because it just gives you different fights, but mission mode in NGB on normal, like just think of a few missions. Military Destruction 2, Military Destruction 4, Military Destruction 5, Path of the Master Ninja 4, Schmorgen, Jotunfrau. That guy specifically said Jotunfrau is like totally free. Like, alright, play MP4. Play Jotunfrau with 4 cat fiends after you. I think that will change your mind. What else we got in mission mode? Descent of the Fiends 5 is Master Ninja Tournament from HP2 from HP. Like that's not a pushover on normal. Captivating Goddesses 1, Awakened Alma with minions, have fun. Captivating Goddesses 5, Ishtaros with monk minions, have fun. Oh yeah, I know. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, really. But what I mean is, like, you can tell there wasn't really any inclination to like go through the game again and add to your knowledge. And I don't know why that seems to be such a rare thing these days. Or do the archive challenge? God, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's brutal. But I don't know. It just seems to be like I love learning. I don't know. Learning is fun. I don't know, man. Like learning is fun. Like I mean, this past week, right? It's a different. Like, bear with me here, but like, it's a similar thing. I really got into this, like learning the 4x4 Rubik's Cube, and my first solve of this took me almost 8 hours. Like all told, like took me about 8 hours from start to finish. I've solved it 3 times now. The 3rd time took me about 15 minutes. And to me, I like that. I like learning, and games more often than not you learn things. I remember my first playthrough of Doom Eternal, looking at my PS4 page. I sucked. I was terrible at Doom Eternal the first time I played it. I mean, I'm still not great, but like I'm better than I was on my first playthrough because I looked, you think, okay, why am I having trouble here? What am I not doing? What could I do better? Most people, it seems, I said this a while ago. It was even a piece I wrote that I don't have anymore, unfortunately, as it was one of the ones that I was really quite proud of. Most people's definition of difficulty these days is simply, how many times do I have to do my approach before it succeeds? And that's how people evaluate difficulty these days. So that's why I think now, that's why people think things like Dark Souls are so hard. When you look at people that are really, really good at those games, they're like, oh, okay, there's a legacy factor to it. They're like, oh, okay, well, we just need to do this, and it's free. And that's that. Whereas when you've got someone that is like, I'm going to mash square. Oh, man, it took me 8 tries to beat that boss. This is so hard. Whereas someone can be like, I'm just going to press square once now, and then I'm going to back off, and then I'm going to press square again, and now he's dead. That was easy. That seems to be how people like determine difficulty, One of the things I don't understand is why so many people get bent out of shape over losing in hard games. I'm not very good at most of these titles, but I find the potential to slowly get better at them exciting and just keep trying over and over. Whereas a lot of AAA titles, I get bored and zone out because there's no incentive for me to improve. Yeah, I agree, and I think also as well, much like with everything, most people, and this might annoy people, most people, you're not as good as you think you are. I'm sorry, but I said it. For example, when I started streaming, early on, and I had a few people that would like, oh, it's refreshing to see you like struggle in a game, because previously, like, the only thing they have seen me play is NG, a game I have, you know, an unhealthy amount of experience in, so it's very easy for me to play. Or maybe a bit of DMC here and there, and I played DMC a lot too. And this is where fighting games really did kind of humble me in a lot of ways. I'm not that good at games for the most part. Like, I'm good at action games and shooters and platformers, because I play those games, because that's probably the 3 types of games I play the most. And I'm like at least like a decent scrub at fighting games. But that's because I play those games a lot. I played Halo Wars on easy, and it was still difficult for me, because I don't play real-time strategy games. I think we have got to this point where, in general, games are really, really easy now. So when someone struggles, they're like, it's weird. It's you know, it's unusual to struggle, but it's good to struggle. I liked that Doom Eternal was hard. Like, I played Doom 2016 a lot. Like, Doom 2016 on Nightmare was piece of piss for me. I really liked that Doom Eternal was hard for me on normal. I was like, I'm on normal and I'm getting my ass kicked by this game, because they changed things. It was like NG2, you know, you got to learn the new tricks, you've got to learn the new mechanics. I just tune the fuck out whenever Dark Souls philosophers start talking about what's proper difficulty in game design. To be honest, I do that with anyone, because it's opinion anyway. It's always opinion. You know, people, like, I would totally understand people saying that Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden are unfair. I understand why they'd say that. They're not necessarily right or wrong, because to be right or wrong, you need a set amount of experience that would only come from you'd only a set amount of knowledge, sorry, from a lot of experience. So, you know, yeah, it's just one of those things, I guess. Yeah, like, yeah, NG2 on Master Ninja is kind of cheap, but I've said this in many tutorials in NG. People don't understand, man. The cheapest thing in NG is by far you. No enemy comes close to how broken Ryu is. Or Dante in Devil May Cry, you know? But that said, I do think there are definitely examples of, like, bad difficulty design. I think modern shooters are really difficult, really bad, like, are really big culprits for that these days. Gears 5, I remember, no, not Gears 5, Gears 4, sorry, was the game that really, like, it pushed it too far. I was like, nah, like, I'm not finishing this on Insane, because it's just, like, this, I feel 100% confident in saying that, like, Gears difficulty design past 3 is just lazy. It's just lazy. Every single enemy takes, like, almost a magazine of ammo to kill, and there's no hit reaction. They don't stumble, they just keep chugging. Yep, 58 bullets in the face. 59, oh, now I'm dead. Like, it's crap. And there's so many instances where you just need a set pattern to succeed, otherwise you're just not going to get through the fight. Like, if a certain enemy behaves in a certain way, like, if you get that one cheeky grenadier with the shotgun that's just going to walk up to you and be like, oh, 800 bullets? It wasn't 801. Bang! Now you're dead. Restart checkpoint. Tough shit. You shot me 800 times. It wasn't enough. And I think games in general are just getting more like that. Look at Vanquish, another great example. I would understand why people would say Vanquish on hard and God hard is unfair, but it's not. Can the enemies kill you in the blink of an eye? Absolutely. But so can you. You have that ability. The enemies in NG... I actually think NGB and NG2, comparatively, are actually less fair, because forward Y into OT with the Talons is busted as hell in NG2. No enemy can kill you as fast as you can kill them in NG. In Vanquish, they can. You get up close to an enemy on hard or God hard, and you do a poor dodge and they hit you, you're dead. That was your fault. You shouldn't have got close to them. You can boost at, like, the speed of light away from enemies. Like, why are you near them? What are you doing? You're doing it wrong. But that is just going away, like, slowly from games. It's why Horizon was such a fucking breath of fresh air, and Horizon, honestly, is not, like, super mechanically deep, but the higher difficulties on Horizon wasn't just, oh, right, well, now every single enemy takes 8 billion arrows to the face, and they look at you and you're dead. Like, Horizon still made weapon choices and weak points and the environment and your decisions matter on the higher difficulty. It wasn't just, oh yeah, Aloy's made of cheese and every single enemy is, you know, made of bricks, which is boring. Nobody wants that in an action game. It's just crap. So you have way more than enough to deal with that. Yeah, you do. You absolutely do. The runs, fun enough, that I've been playing on RE2, where I'm collecting all the ammo. It's really common to see a complaint leveled against Resident Evil, like, man, the game, it just doesn't give you enough. And you think, yes, it does, actually. Like, if you play through it like you're meant to, you know, a few times, and you learn, and you get better, and you learn the game, you're armed to the fucking teeth in RE2. You got ammo coming out your ears in that game. It's just... Yeah, it's just. I think it's just a different era in games. It's a totally different era now in games, and I don't really see like the old. Well, especially not the old style being the dominant one. I don't see it coming back, because games in and of themselves now are such huge productions that. It's why Doom Eternal, like the existence of Doom Eternal, even though Doom Eternal does have some like blemishes here and there, Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal are the Ninja Gaidens of this generation, in my book. 100%. People even, I mean, now they look like Muppets, but the critique of Doom Eternal at launch now, I mean, it was bad when it came out, because all you had to do was play it once and then you'd know. But it's that trap of people play a game once, and now it's so common that they can get away with it. But every now and then, a game like Doom Eternal comes along. People play it once, and they make all these huge, big, declarative statements, and then the rest of the people, like the rest of the gaming audience, plays it like one or two more times, and they're like, oh wow, yeah, marauders are totally free. No, whatever. Like, oh, like ammo's rare. Oh, okay, chainsaw. Oh, okay, I'm seeing what I'm doing here. Ah, armor management. Oh, okay, I get it. I get what we're doing here. And then all the people that just played it once, and they, the marauder did the thing. How stupid do those people look now? You know, the people that literally said they need to patch the marauder out the game. How just prisoner of the moment does that seem now? You know, it's mad. I suspect a lot of gamers, where they slap a damage HP stat adjustment for hard modes, are probably not balanced correctly compared to the lower settings. No, they're usually not. I mean, Gears of War is a great example. Play Gears of War on easy. It's a fucking joke. Like, enemies die in like 5 bullets. It's insane. Halo 5 in particular actually was pretty guilty of that. Halo was usually one of the examples of like how to do a very hard well in a shooter. Halo 5 wasn't. Like the weapon balance and weapon decisions were real. I remember one encounter in particular. There was about 4 of the God, what they're called. The Forerunner heavies, the Knights. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head. There's about 4 of them, and Promethean weapons are like the thing that really takes them out. And yet they give you like hardly any Promethean weapons in the encounter, and it really stuck out because it's like, this is not. I expect more from Halo. Like, you know, normally they would give you the weapon you need. They might hide it, or they might give it another enemy that you have to kill. But they give you that weapon. Like, that fight in particular was like, wow, there's only human weapons here, and I have 4 of these guys to kill. And they just tank like 8 billion bullets, you know? I think you're right there, Alyssa. I think that's what they do. And it's rare. I think it's, again, with NG and Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry, I wouldn't count easy, but NG is fun to play on every single mode. Like, normal, hard, very hard, and Master Ninja are all really, really fun. And I think the balance shows itself. I think someone asked this yesterday, actually, in my stream. I can't remember who it was. But they asked what my favourite difficulty was on NGB. My answer was very hard. Because Master Ninja is just a bit boring, like, on successive playthroughs, because the encounters are just really long. Once you get to a certain skill level, killing 120 imps isn't more difficult than killing 100 imps, or even 80, or even 60 imps. It just takes longer. That's it. That's where the difficulty structure of, like, say, modern games is the thing. It's not more difficult, it simply takes you more time to do it. It's not actually harder to do, it just takes longer. And, yeah, I don't think we're going to see the other side of that come back, you know? Which kind of becomes a slog, yeah. Yeah, that's why challenge runs are really fun. Like, for example, Doom Eternal. I've not really seen any challenge runs pop up for it, which is a shame. But I did a no-upgrade run on Nightmare of Doom Eternal. And fucking hell, man. Going back and playing it now with the... Man, you feel like a god. Like, playing that game with no upgrades was really hard. And it makes you... This is why challenge runs are cool, because it makes you think outside the box. You know, it's like... It's like doing a job, for example. Good example. When I went back home recently, I was cutting some wood down for a few things I was making, and I didn't have my like usual straight edge for making a straight line. Bear with me, it's going somewhere. And I thought, okay, like, how can I do that without my normal equipment here? Because, you know, I don't have everything here. And I thought, okay, like, I used an old shoelace and put some chalk on it and made that into a chalk line. It makes you more creative, and that's where you think outside the box. What's up, period? For example, in NG and DMC more so, if you take away things from you in your arsenal, it makes you a better player, because you might have just relied on, like, Smoke Bomb Izuna drop for armored soldiers. On a handicap run, you might say, okay, no smoke bombs. Oh, I now can't just walk up to these armored soldiers and launch them. How do I beat them? Ooh, wind run. If I wind run, they get stunned, and it guarantees me XY. There's a strategy. You can then take it a step further and think, okay, I'm going to ban smoke bombs and wind run. Now how do I beat them? Ooh, I can guillotine throw them and then launch them off the floor. On the next level, I'm going to get rid of smoke bombs, wind run, and guillotine throw. Now how do I beat them? I could just shoot them with arrows. On the next run, I'm going to take that away too. Now how do you beat them? Now I've just got to make them whiff an attack and punish them. That's, you see what I mean? Like, you eventually get to the bit that is the hardest. And then when you reintroduce all those abilities, you now have all this new knowledge where you're like, oh man, I have smoke bombs, but I can just make you whiff. Yeah, you're dead. Like, it's how you get good, you know, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I mean, the archive, yeah, I think it will, yeah. The archive challenge, I mean, I'm glad it's a shame more people haven't picked that up, but the archive challenge on the ground floor was something Kyoiri did, like, way back when. And then Pasarin did it, and then I did it. And it was just one of those things where it was... That really tests your mettle, you know? Like, if you can fight that fight on the ground floor, default life bar, no items, and you know, and don't be cheap. Like, and fight it fairly. Which you shouldn't, because the enemies aren't fair, but you know what I mean. It really does. Like, it just makes you such a better player. I feel like my no upgrade run on Doom Eternal actually made me much better at the game, because I struggled early on Doom. My first Nightmare run was pretty rough, and then after that no upgrade run, I knew so much more about the game. I knew more about the staggers, how the weak points system works, damage, how to set up things, how to make better use of the armor system. Because I took away things from me that I had on the previous playthrough. You have to come up with, you know, more ways to do it. And it's a shame that, like, that's not incentivized. Like, when they inevitably re-release Resident Evil 4 on the PS5 and Xbox, whatever, they need to put an achievement in there, or a difficulty. I think it's better if it's a difficulty mode, because it forces people to do it. There should be easy, normal, professional, and then above professional, there should be no merchant. So people have to do a no merchant run. And I've always said, like, that the perfect handicap run on RE4 is no merchant. Like, and if they made that a difficulty, I think people would try it. Because for the average person, like, if you, like, they complete RE4 once and then that's it. If you said to them, play it without going to the merchant, in their head, they'd be like, that means I can't get better guns. That means I can't upgrade my case. That means I can't get more weapons. And you think, yeah, exactly. So now how are you going to beat this boss? It's just, it makes you think outside the box, you know? Like, it just does. Yeah, so do I. I hope, I mean, let's be real. RE4 will be released on the new systems, whether it's the remake or the original. Like, they are going to put that out on new consoles, so we'll get a version of it no matter what. Anyway, guys, this overran longer than I intended to. But it's been great chatting. It's been great chatting about. This is something that I actually want to do a lot more of. Is like the podcast type stuff and the just sort of just chatting things. When I'm doing this as my day to day, I'll be able to do it a lot more frequently. But I cannot stress enough. If you guys want to know when I'm doing stuff like this, I hate plugging stuff, but I just kind of have to for this. Check Discord. Join the Discord, because whenever I'm going to do anything like this, I'll always post it on Discord. I will post it to Twitter, but I feel like Discord is a much more direct way to stay updated. So, yeah, definitely, like, if you follow my Discord, if you want to know when I'm doing stuff like this. So, but yeah, it's funny. I feel like a lot of people might, like, jump all over that video, to wrap up here and actually get back on topic. As I said, the only thing I really disagreed with was the platforming. Like, everything else is actually pretty accurate based on a first playthrough, you know? The platforming, though, nah. Platforming is the one thing I won't give him. Like, you know, it's but what can you do? But anyway, guys, I will catch you tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow. Shout outs to bank holidays. I'm also off Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be MK Day, and I'm off next Friday too. So be a lot of stuff coming next week. I'm going to try and sort of trial, like, what's going to be my usual routine for when I, you know, eventually move into this full time. So, yeah, join my Discord and you'll keep up to date on that stuff. Oh, Doom Eternal, you're going down, son. Doom Eternal, you think you've won, but you haven't. You think you've won the battle, but you have not. I will succeed, and you will fail. I will win. Trust me. Even if I have to play it on PC and cheat and use mouse and keyboard, I will be victorious. I will get that shitty gold skin that I'll never use because the Phobos skin looks better. But I'll still have it. And that's the main thing. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And I will catch you next time. Take care. Peace.